and welcome to DKR Sports. I'm Rubin Wright. This is Deion Lunstrum.
Hi, today we have Monday Night Football. The Saints play the Falcons 10 years after their return from Katrina, remembering Steve Gleason and his punt block. Steve Gleason was diagnosed in 2011 with Parkinson's disease. There was a statue commemorated outside of the Louisiana Superdome, now the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, in his commemoration. It reads, on Monday, September 25th, 2006, Steve Gleason was responsible for one of the most dramatic moments in New Orleans Saints history. He blocked a punt in the first quarter of the team's return to the Superdome following Hurricane Katrina. That night, the Saints defeated their rival Falcons 23-3. It would kickstart an improbable run for a team that would go on to win the NFC South crown and play for the NFC Championship that season. That blocked punt that season symbolized the rebirth of the city of New Orleans.
And one of the most, fantastic plays in Saints history, I gotta say. But in other news, Les Miles of former LSU head coach has now been fired as of Sunday after the game. They say that they didn't really like how his play was going. They didn't like the culture of the football team. They didn't like how there was no passing offense. They didn't like that the recruiting classes were not finished.
Now, let me ask you a question. What exactly do you think factored more into the firing of Les Miles? Do you think it was the fact that he was in a highly competitive SEC that included coaches, like Nick Saban that are winning, probably 11, 12 games a year with a maximum of 1 or 2 losses? Or do you think it was more of, his coaching strategy and the fact that they didn't see a good outlook?
I feel like, in a way, it's more of his coaching strategy. I feel like maybe both, but his coaching strategy definitely they just didn't have a passing culture there, and that's what the fans wanted. They wanted a passing culture, as well as the recruiting classes they drew in were top 10 classes each year, but they were never finding results. They were never competing with Alabama for national championships. So that's got to be the main thing. But Ed Orgeron takes over for him. He's the former coach of Ole Miss and the former intern coach of USC. And he joined LSU in 2015 on defensive line coach. But Orgeron at Ole Miss was only 10-21, another SEC school. So his SEC experience is very bad at best.
In other news, we have Arnold Palmer, famed golf legend, dies at 87 years old. Palmer won 7 majors, and, he wasn't just famous for golf. He was known for defining the sport of golf as he attracted fans to the then almost unknown sport for 7 decades. When you think in perspective, 7 decades, that's 70 years. He was almost playing golf for a century. And then golf was really only known in, Scotland, Europe, Britain. It was only known overseas. Yep. And then, in America, it was brought and it was then introduced with the help of Palmer as a, broadcasted sport and something that grew popular amongst many Americans.
Yep, and Tiger Woods, a big fan of him, maybe one of his, top role models, and definitely someone he tried to model his game after, but he's going to be a missed person in the golf community.
Very much so.
But in other news, John Fox says that Jay Cutler of the Bears, when he gets healthy, his job might not be there really waiting for him. It's going to be an interesting news, and for the Bears, it might be something that, Jay Cutler's time might be over.
That's insane when you think about it, too, because that's what they thought was their ticket.
Yep.
They definitely thought that Jay Cutler was going to be their ticket, but his frustration, played with frustration, and his inability to win games seemed to kind of, doom him.
Yeah, it really did, and it definitely hurt him, and pretty much, it could end up ending his career.
Correct. In sadder news, Jose Fernandez, the well-known pitcher for the Miami Marlins, passes away at the young age of 24 in a boating accident late Saturday night. Jose, originally Cuban, was remembered for his active involvement in the city of Miami, especially after LeBron James and you find out that Dwayne Wade's leaving. They didn't have anybody to go to. The city, was looking for an icon. Jose was able to speak Spanish and American fluently, which definitely gave him that leadership role, being able to reach out to multiple people. And, he was the guy that they looked to. Mm-hmm. He was known as a true advocate of the American dream, and he showed how to truly take advantage of the citizenship in America.
He's also he was a great youth prospect and really the future of the MLB. Without him, it's going to be it's kind of a bleak for the Marlins, as well as just he was someone fun and exciting and spectacular to watch.
Correct. He was very great. He was 38-17 as a starter, which are great numbers. He had an ERA of 2.58, under 3, which that's phenomenal. In a total of 471 innings pitched, I hate to see him go because he could have done so much more for the MLB.
Yep, and James Harden, another big story of the day is that he's going to end up changing positions to a full point guard in D'Antonio's...
Full point guard?
Full point guard. He's going to run the offense.
No more shooting guard James Harden.
No more shooting guard. It's going to be, James Harden versus Steph Curry.
Now, do you think he can fare at the point guard position? When you look at the offensive talent of the rest of the NBA, the shooting guard position is not as loaded. Mm-hmm. The point guards, now you have Kyrie Irving, you have Stephen Curry, you have Kyle Lowry, you have all these phenomenal point guards.
Yep.
As to where shooting guards, you can only think of a couple. You might have Kyle Korver, which is a pure shooter. Klay Thompson, which is a pure shooter. James Harden has never been known for being a two-way player.
Exactly.
Strictly offensive. His defense definitely needs work. How do you think he's going to be able to fare at the point guard position?
D'Antonio, the coach of Houston, has this new offensive scheme of an up-tempo offense.
Okay.
So he hopes that will help. But I think Harden's going to struggle at first. He's more of a scoring player. He doesn't really like to play defense, as seen before. As well as his assist numbers are not something spectacular. No. So he's going to have to adjust the role. But he'll find his way. He's a scorer. Correct. Steph Curry proved that you can score and be a point guard. Russell Westbrook's done it. So he'll have to grow to the position.
Okay. In other news, Pat Riley is speculating that the career of Chris Bosh is more than likely over. In a recent video that we posted, we stated that Chris Bosh was plagued by blood clots, and he failed his physical, and he was not cleared to play this season. Now, as a reference, his season has been clogged, and possibly his career as well. Chris Bosh played for 13 years. He spent 7 with the Raptors and 6 with the Miami Heat. He won 2 NBA titles with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Mm-hmm. And he was selected to the All-Star team for 11 straight years. From 2006 to 2016, he's definitely going to be a missed player in the NBA. Growing up watching him, he was great. Mm-hmm. He was definitely one of those defining players of the early 21st century. And, thinking about it now, he played with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and was still managing to put up over 20 points a game. That's ridiculous.
Well, he was definitely that third piece, just like Kevin Love is in Cleveland now for the Heat.
You gotta have a big 3.
Yep.
That was the original big 3.
And without him, I don't know what the Heat are going to do. They only have Goran Dragic and they have Hassan Whiteside as their 2 main players. And it's looking like at the end that they're going to be this year.
They're going to be the 10 or 9 seed. Yep. It doesn't look like they're competing for an 8th playoff spot.
Just right outside of the playoffs.
If anything, they're going to be competing for a high lottery pick when you think about it.
Yeah, which is, bad in the sense that you're not competing, but also good for them.
It's a blessing in disguise.
Because they need players. They do not have the talent
have to
right
get
now.
A good draft pick.
But in other news, Ben McAdoo, the coach of the Giants, says that Odell Beckham Jr.'s attitude is not right for the field, not right for the team.
I don't doubt that at all. Watching the game on Sunday, Odell was hysterical. He proceeded to, quote-unquote, get in a fight with the kicking net. Striking it and then getting struck back. Now, that is a perfect example of karma, people. Do not hit unless you are ready to get hit back.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing with Beckham. He had some, just throughout the game, he was very much becoming a distraction for the team. And that's actually the case of over just last season and now this season after his stardom has risen. He's become so much of a distraction to the team, and McAdoo wants that to change around. He loves Odell, as a player, but he needs to become lesser presence. He cannot be like Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco.
Because we saw what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely saw what happened to them. Chad Johnson changed his name to Ochocinco simply because of one thing, his ego.
Yep.
And he let his ego get the better of him, and you simply can't do that because not only will it plague your team for wins, but it will also plague your pocket in the event that you get fined or, the NFL makes consequences for you.
Yeah, and something that he definitely should watch out. And, he's still young. His first season was just,
he's a sophomore in the NFL.
He's definitely got time to change, and I hope he does it soon, because if he does, he'll be, that great, receiver that we've had of our generation, and I really hope to look for him to change it, which I think he will do.
Right.
I think he'll get it.
I would hope so.
Mm-hmm. But that's it for today. Look forward to our things in the future. We'll have a podcast tomorrow on Tuesday,
and then we will give you some possible insight to your waiver wires, possibly help you get an early look at your fantasy team, and we'll give you a recap of the weekend. MLB, NHL. We'll give you all the news, all the scores, and we'll even tell you how we fared in a competition to see who would get the most picks right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
For sure.